wait to catch up. Brother, what is up, dude?
What's up? What's up?
Man, it's been some time, dude. How's it going? Beautiful to see you again.
Yeah, you too, man. Last time we talked, I think it was almost like 3, 4 years ago.
About 4 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy, dude. I mean, and the insane thing is, in that time span of us talking, we're talking like Baskin, but then you have, Perry, you have Çiplak, you have all these other things that have come out, that I'm like, God damn, dude, like,
Yeah,
it's
but
crazy. I told you that I wanted to keep up, but I'm like, fuck, dude, I'm getting you on every other couple months.
yeah, it took me some time to get back into the hardcore horror, though. It took me some time.
Sure.
Like I realized while I was shooting Sayara and editing Sayara, I realized I'm really happy and I'm at my happy place, which is a really dark and disturbing place. So that's I don't know what that says about me, but yeah.
Yeah, dude, and Sayara, I mean, this is absolutely like just a sick tale, and there's so many different layers, to the excitement that I had with this. We have, some of the martial arts kind of action packed, stories, but with the extent of the gore that we get and the extent of, there's really like there's a lot on the line here that we're getting and having to be exposed to. So beyond the gore and beyond the action and things, in Sayara, uh, there's a story rooted in personal and social injustices, and maybe not to get too far into personals or anything like that, but are there anything, be it personal or local, to you that would have inspired a story like this?
And obviously, I mean, even if I wasn't taking any references, the moment that you do a revenge film in this part of the world, the moment you're making a film about a femicide and then a revenge, be it Kill Bill or I Spit on Your Grave, it has to look like some actual events. There's so many of them, unfortunately, here. But it's interesting. When I went to Lisbon, Motel X Horror Film Festival, they told me it's the same thing over here. So it is. There is a universal aspect to this. I mean, it's a subgenre on its own right, after all.
Hmm.
So and I always wanted to do a revenge film, and I always wanted to do a martial arts film. I always wanted to do a tournament film, which is what the third act of the
Right.
movie is. Because like if you look from a script point of view, at the end of the second act, the movie kind of abruptly, the conflict kind of comes to an end.
Hmm.
She could kill them all if she wishes, but no, it becomes it's a tournament. It becomes a game, and that's always something that I wanted to do.
Oh, dude. And I didn't necessarily like on my end. I mean, obviously, this is your movie, and if you feel free as far as what extent you feel of sharing, but uh, that was like I say, one of these layers. When you're getting kind of midpoint to the movie, and it's like okay, like feels like kind of a pivotal point where she can just destroy these motherfuckers, but then we kind of get this like Bruce Lee tournament of champions type situation that you're like,
Exactly.
oh God, where is this gonna go?
Exactly. I grew up with Bloodsport, Jean-Claude Van
Yeah,
Damme's Bloodsport, so
yeah.
like I had to do it.
Oh, dude, that's so sick. I mean, so as far as from this first initial concept and idea, was it always the idea from the start of having all three of these elements kind of come together, or was something as you were in writing, did something like the final act kind of develop as you're writing it?
Yeah, I mean, the very initial idea, I think, was to make this crazy scene with a plane or a helicopter at the at the end, because like, I have a friend who lives in LA, a Turkish guy who is an awesome action director in its own right. He has this movie called, I think, The Virus or Antivirus or something like.
Okay.
A Turkish guy living in LA. His name is Ahmet Atalay, and he has this
Okay.
amazing short films, like mid-range films, where he's borrowing action scenes from all his favorite action movies, just like I borrow from all my favorite genre movies. And he,
Hmm.
by using little maquettes or like CGI. He's creating this. So I was thinking maybe I can have a collaboration with him, and I wanted to have this big ending where there's a plane or a helicopter crashing into a building or something. Like that was the initial script I wrote. But as you go, like I wanted to, like as I wrote again and again, I made it contained. The less locations you have, the more the locations become a character in their own
Mm-hmm.
right. Also, it's better for like indie filmmaking, for grindhouse filmmaking. So that's how it came about.
Oh, dude. And to be honest, like, the helicopter idea sounds absolutely fucking amazing. That sounds sick, but the finale that we get in this, it is the payoff that, like, first and foremost, I don't think anybody ever sees happening, but it's
Yeah,
kind of one of those moments when you're in a movie theater and you're sitting there and even just a particular line gets read off and you're like, oh, fuck, I know where this is going.
yeah,
And
yeah.
dude, it's so sick, so awesome, man.
I'm not
It's so
exactly
fun.
I'm not exactly sure because some of my references come like subconscious. Some of them are like actually, and then like there's this meme going on Instagram like. As a writer, you write a beautiful, an amazing line, and then you keep thinking, "Am I a genius, or am I borrowing this from some movie I watched years ago?" So in that respect, I think I might have got the idea for the ending
Hmm.
from this amazing horror film called Saint Maud.
Oh
You know Saint Maud?
yeah, okay, yep.
Yeah, the ending of that movie maybe gave me that idea. I'm not sure because I watched it around the time while I was trying to get the structure uh, for the script. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
there's a little trivia for you.
In I can even say, like, as far as when you mention, like martial arts movies and things like that, to where, like, there isn't anything where when I was watching it, it kind of felt like it was something else. Like, it just was an element that I was like, oh shit, this could have gone one way where you say, maybe, without giving away any spoilers, there could have been like just an absolute massacre of all of the people or this is, but to individually be like, no, one by one,
Yeah,
we're gonna hang
yeah,
out for a minute. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, dude, this is gonna be fucking awesome. Now, I mean, as far as when you break down shooting and you have the schedule and the shoots, what bring us back to day one and what got accomplished there.
Day one was a big religious holiday in Istanbul, and that was the only day that we were able to have access to my friend's gym because
Oh no.
my friend is the owner of that gym that we shot, and he told me that I can have the gym for free to shoot if I'm shooting something crazy that nobody would finance, which it is. But he told me I can only have access on the day off
Oh,
and
okay.
so we had to schedule it in a way where this big religious holiday comes in. So like everybody everywhere is closed, and we were one of the few people in the country who was working actually on that day. So
Oh
that was
my.
day one. We were in this gym, and I'm kind of used to this by now because this is my fifth feature film, but also considering Çiplak 1 and Çiplak 2 also as feature films, this is my
Mhm.
seventh feature. So I'm used to being on the set. The first day, most of the crew they're looking at me with like 50% passion, 50% suspicion. Like, what the hell are you doing? Because like usually with my films, like I try to go for something like, especially in this part of the world, nobody has done before.
Mhm.
Nobody has the gusto or the experience before.
Okay.
So like even the lead actress, she came to me, I think on day 4 or day 3 or day 4, she came to me and said, John, I think I know what you're trying to go for. Now I understand the
Mm.
vibe that you want to create, because like she was taking a peek of like what we're shooting. Now I think I understand. I love that moment. So now I'm more experienced. I know like okay, let's go. They will get into hang of this, and some of my key crew members, which have been with me before, they know the vibe. So we were super excited. We were like kids.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, we just started off by shooting. What was the first thing that we ever shot? My first AD is also here with me. Do you remember what was the first thing that we ever shot on Sayara? Day one. First thing, the gym. The gym, but which part of the gym? Sayara's training, the MOS scenes. Ah, yeah, okay, yes, the scenes where she's training.
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
that's how we
Okay.
got started. Like when she was like doing the training scenes, which was main inspiration for those training scenes were the opening of the amazing Indonesian action film, The Raid.
Oh, oh yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Shit,
because the very
dude.
beginning of The Raid starts with a ticking clock.
Mm-hmm.
An alarm
Mm-hmm.
goes off. This guy wakes up at 6 or 5 a.m. like something crazy in the morning, and then he does like push-ups, and then like he kisses his baby, and then he prays, and then he goes on this mission. I'm like, oh my god, this is a guy who prays 5 times a day. He's like hardcore working. He has a family, and he's going to a death mission. Now that should be like there's something there that I can draw inspiration from, you know.
Dude, oh man, I love that. And I think one of the things too that it's interesting in some of the behind the scenes, whether it's like with Baskin or the featurette that you kind of sent, with Sayara, is in speaking with Stephen recently, with Stephen Murphy, on being able to work together is there's this kind of laser point focus in seeing you behind the camera and kind of the way that you're like communicating with people, and I think that's a pretty key thing as far as coming on, and something that Steven had mentioned, as far as just coming in with a confidence and knowing what it is that you want to do, and that this picture, and then for Dayu to be able to say something like, okay, it took me a couple of days, but I see it, and let's get it. That's I think that's an important thing, and something that I notice with you is that you're like, fuck, this might be ridiculous, but we're gonna get what we need.
Exactly. I mean, Stephen Murphy being my DOP from my awesome short film To My Mother and Father
Uh-huh.
from year 2010.
Mm-hmm.
I love the guy. I mean, we're in like two different countries, so that's why the business is not the same as it
Mm-hmm.
was back then. So we couldn't get to collaborate. Well, actually, we did shoot a commercial with him once in Turkey, but yeah, that was it.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, just like you said, I love being on the set. I love rolling the dice
Mm-hmm.
there, and I love doing something that is kind of a unique thing, a weird hybrid of two different, sometimes totally different genres that many of people haven't tried. And yeah, the more crazy and more ridiculous it is, the more passionate I am.
And I think with Sayara too, that's one of those things where this was an opportunity to have that mindset, and be able to play with things like some of the bites that are happening. May it
Mm.
be maybe something that happens on the neck, or some of the moments that happen, that I will say are the gore emphasis, were just it was kind of like, oh, I was not seeing that coming, and this is going very Jean Evrenol. This is rough. Now, I mean, with Dayu's depiction of Sayara, and am I pronouncing that correct? Is it Dayu?
Duygu, the lead
Duygu.
actress.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Duygu.
Gooey goo. Okay. I
Yeah.
pulled it up online. I didn't want to sound like a complete asshole, and here I am sounding like a complete asshole.
No, no, of course.
Gooey goo. Okay. Her depiction of Sarah, was something that was such a solid cast. For someone transforming from this soft-spoken, kind of pulled back character to an absolute believable threat. And in saying that, what kind of went into the casting for this character, and what did she bring to that?
Well, while when we were like auditioning for this role, I wasn't gonna accept anything less than very genuine feeling of darkness at heart. Like so. Also, to be convincing and genuine, I wasn't looking at any Turkish actresses. I wanted somebody from the Central Asian region, like a Turkmen or an Uyghur, maybe, or somebody from Indonesia, somebody from Thailand, which has the facial structure and the facial type to fit the Turkmen immigrant role, and who also happens to have a body which is not necessarily like a voluptuous female, but a fight ready, fight fit body, which is also appealing. So to bring all those elements together, we were looking at street casting with Turkmen people, with some other Central Asian, Turkic countries, people in Turkey from those immigrants. And when my cast director showed me Duygu, I'm like, there's no way, but let's meet her anyway. So we meet her, and but like, she had the face and she had the aura, but I said, like, there's no way this girl's gonna cut her hair, there's no way this girl's gonna enjoy this film, there's no way this girl's gonna, but she sent that night she sends me an audition, and I think that audition is in the behind the scenes video I sent
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
The moment I saw that, oh my God, I said, she will do it, and she's the right person for it. She has the shoulders, and she has the beautiful but scary face, and she can be very quiet and introvert if she wants. She can be very like, like flames from her mouth, like eyes, kind of like, oh my gosh, she can do it. And there's one little trick in that audition video. Right before the audition video, I texted her, when you're shooting the audition video, don't punch the wall, because you can't, and it's going to look fake, even if you're punching a pillow on the wall. But elbow, show me when you're elbowing, then you can like elbow, and then she does it, and I see the intensity in her face, and then she also like throws a big high kick at the end of the audition. I'm like, oh my gosh, she has the flexibility as well. If I can train her with my jiu-jitsu coach for a month, she will be ready for this role. And she just turned to be a great actress. Like, the moment she started speaking the lines, she was playing with her eyes, and she was playing very little. I was so happy. Like, she was born for this role, because if I couldn't have found this lead actress, I wasn't going to shoot this film. That was like a main junction for me. So, yeah, Duygu is like 50% of this film.
Yeah.
But the moment you find her, then you're like, oh my God, now I have to find a sister who looks like her, and then she has to be also a great actress, and she has to do this like crazy roles which include nakedness and like very triggering violence scenes, and she has to do them with passion. She has to understand, and then it was another journey for us to find a sister. But we were also super lucky to find that amazing sister too.
Well, and that's the thing too, is, within the casting, I mean, we have characters. I mean, first of all, with Sayara, I mean, that was the thing, was that something in this, this translation of story could have gotten lost if it was somebody who was, lesser than, or somebody that was settled on. But the fact of, the performance that she puts on was just fucking intense. And when it gets to that intensity, and it gets to the physical aspect of it, and the defending of herself, it's like, she is absolutely doing this shit. Like, I don't want to come across her. She's gonna whoop my ass. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like,
She has a
great.
male twin brother that she grew up with. She told me
Really?
she grew up wrestling with her brother. So like, I'm like, oh my God, there it is. Like, she had it in her. And then it's really funny, after the screening, her mom goes to her and says like, since you were very little, you had this anger in you, and I'm so happy that you channeled it in a way that this performance came out. This role was
Wow.
meant to be for you, her mom says. So I was like super happy and touched about that.
Wow. No shit. I mean, yeah, to have that opportunity, it's not something that comes across, as far as being able to go as far as what we do in this, and it not just be like a standard fight of some sort.
Yeah. And that was the goal from the beginning. I knew that I couldn't have any bravada, spinning kicks or something, and I didn't want to. I didn't want. I just wanted something real, something not. It doesn't look really choreographed, but it is in a way. And usually, like, if you look at street fight videos, it's very messy, and it's very short, and it's very to the point. And in the cinematic universe, there's very, very, very little reference for this. Maybe the first half an hour of The Raid, again, is a great example, but I drew more inspiration from David Cronenberg's a history of violence, and
Okay.
Eastern Promises,
Hmm.
those type of movies which delivered those like short, very brutal, grappling and pulling and pushing, and just like fight scenes that relied on plastic makeup, more than spinning high kicks. Because once you go into the spinning high kick territory, not only your lead actress, but all these goons, the stunt people, you need everybody to be well experienced in martial arts. That's really impossible for me to get in this part of the world at this day and age with this budget. And it collided with my vision of trying to make a fight movie which is realistic and grappling based. So I was like
Okay.
thinking this is going to be some jiu-jitsu scenes and it's going to look rough, and then we're going to go for the throat, go for the biting, go for the eye gouging, which real street fight is, not street fight, survival fight.
So, all right.
And Sayara's father is a survival guy, bringing up her daughter in this crazy manner, traumatizing her, also like making her into a weapon.
Right, right. And that was the thing too, where not to say like to get into wanting more or anything like that, but that was one of those things where there was enough of this backstory with her father where I was hoping by the end, I'm like, okay, well, maybe at some point there could be something, a little bit of a spin-off or a short or, but that whole story even was something that was very captivating that, sometimes you have something that's a little bit of a preface or, an introduction into how our character is, how they are. But I'm like, fuck, man, what is the deal with this guy? Like, his
Yeah.
story has got, there's some shit going on here.
And like in
So,
every martial arts film, there's this structure, this beautiful structure, and there's always a voice of reason.
mm-hmm,
And be it Obi-Wan Kenobi or
mm-hmm,
Mr. Miyagi,
mm-hmm.
but in our film, the voice of reason happens to be more evil than the bad guy in a way. So that was my intention, to have this anti-hero whose mentor is a villain itself. So yeah.
Yeah, interesting shit. Yeah, yeah, there's and something along with the casting, kind of how we had mentioned too was there's characters that we first meet and I'm just like, yeah, this guy's going to be an absolute piece of shit. He's in the gym and he's checking them out and he's making out with this and that and just kind of acting holier than thou. And we have other characters like Sayara's family, that you're kind of developing for. And so I mean the casting, man, on this was spot on. And then you mentioned something with finding Sayara and then having to kind of mold the family around that and trying to
Yeah.
figure out different things like lots of different portals. So but I mean, luckily, it seems like it went well. Were there any other, kind of points of interest that were a little bit difficult as far as forecasting?
I mean, casting the main bad guy, the handsome guy,
Yeah.
that was also a problem for me because I wanted to have a Turkish TV darling type of guy,
Okay.
that usually plays the good guy, usually plays the guy that girls fall in love with, and I wanted to turn the tables around that. But I also wanted him to be muscular, like a sports guy who knows how to throw a punch, guy who knows how to train, and who can come in and do my film, which is in any case like a anti-mainstream type of film. Like many actors will not choose to work with me in that sense. And also, like, I don't offer them the budget that a Netflix film offers. And
Yeah.
so,
Right.
like, with all these points, with every audience, with every casting choice, I have to find somebody either new to the business or somebody who's kind of like fallen at odds with the business. With every film of mine, I have to find these like people at a special place. Like, it's very very rare that I work with an actor who's at his prime, already doing great, which is the case in my last movie,
Mm-hmm.
Turkish Coffee Table.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's like a total surprise for me. But so with this film, I was super lucky to find the guy who played the love interest, the villain, Barış, and he was already at the cover of a men's health type of magazine, and we used that magazine. We asked for permission, and we changed the name in the magazine cover. Yeah,
That's awesome. I mean, one of the things that were kind of a point of interest, within this and some of the smaller detail, and then became, maybe something that was a little bit more than what I even realized was in the point where Sayara is cutting her hair, and I'm watching the behind the scenes, and there wasn't subtitles or anything like that, but the emotion and the kind of like transfer of feeling in the room, was that, I mean, a pretty difficult, part to shoot?
Yeah, I mean, it was physically easy to shoot, obviously, but it was very difficult
That's like emotional. I mean, it's
to convince Duygu to do that.
yeah.
And for the longest time, after we shook hands with her, she thought that we were actually gonna use a bald wig, and because she doesn't have experience in the film business, she doesn't have experience in the genre film business, and I told her, like, Duygu, first of all, we don't have the budget for this. Second of all, I wouldn't want to have a bald wig. I want this film to feel real, you know.
Uh-huh.
So like we will shave the hair, and like she has never cut her hair even like this, well, since she was a
Oh
baby.
man.
So this was a huge sacrifice for her. I think now she looks even more beautiful and more
Uh-huh.
sexy, but at the time there was no way of convincing her that she was going to look beautiful, so she did this at the cost of looking terrible for some time. That's what she believed, like she was going to look really bad. And but once we convinced her, once she was in it, she did it at one take, and then like she was crying as she was doing it, and she was literally crying, and we were almost like, we like, even now, like talking about, I have goosebumps. My DOP and the makeup lady, like we were like with tears. It was like 5 a.m. in the morning, the sun is about to come up, it's the last shoot of the night. It was crazy, but it seriously, like every single day on Sayara, like everybody had this feeling of, we're doing something unique. We're not doing it for the money. We're not doing it for the fucking digital platforms. We're not doing it for fucking anything. We're just doing it to do something from the heart, a genre grindhouse movie from the heart, you know. And it was all these like crazy people. My jiu-jitsu black belt guy, this crazy guy who came here to as a burning himself as a stunt,
Oh,
this
oh
Duygu who's
my
gonna cut
God,
her
dude.
hair, like all these crazy people, like this DOP who was, it was his first time, but he's a very knowledgeable guy, he's a very cinephile guy. So I take great pride in bringing together a beautiful cast and crew for every single film, and then they do the rest, you
Mm-hmm.
know. It's the
Mm-hmm.
director's job to bring more talented people than his or herself, um, and just, you know, to inspire them to create this. So I couldn't be more thankful. Yeah.
Dude, and I think, I mean, these these things show, as far as myself for so long, just being a fan of film, like after having more of these conversations and being able to kind of look at small details, you grow to notice, when there is somebody who has, the stunt coordinators on hand that they have to have. There's somebody who has, hey, we're doing this gore effect. This shit has to be real. We're casting. I don't want to sit here and settle. Ever since me seeing Baskin and kind of going back even to your shorts, I'm like, man, this guy has something fucking figured out. And still today, brother. You know what I'm saying? Like the girl with no mouth, Çiplak. Like you're a fucking savant, mildly insane, but you're a
Thank
savant.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Within the action, so we talk about that, and you're very involved in jujitsu and martial arts. And I mean, how does that transition into film? You have your practices where you go for an hour a day and you're on the ground, you're doing those things, but are there certain aspects where it's like, okay, this kind of looks goofy as we're shooting this, we have to kind of change the maneuvers or change how we are shooting this from behind the camera?
Well, it's kind of a puzzle. It's kind of like an invisible puzzle,
uh,
which has the risk of looking goofy. Even my DOP, when he came to watch the rough cut with me, a couple scenes, he says, "Oh my God, it actually works. I didn't think it was going to work when we were shooting this." You know? Because like you're shooting something, and then you're gonna take a little 2 seconds from it, and then you're shooting some other moment, you're gonna take like half a second, and then you're gonna combine. So I already like storyboarded in my head, but I also improvise on the set, and I try to like
uh,
bring that all to the basket of post-production, and I edit myself. I love creating new stuff, also like trying to figure out what I did in the storyboard, and I just love that process, man. And 10 years ago I shot a little viral commercial for a Turkish jiu-jitsu kimono brand.
okay.
And my wife played in it, and it's called Mata Leon Kimonos Commercial. It's called Mata Leon. Mata Leon means this choking
Okay.
move.
Yep.
Mata
Okay.
Leon was also the name of the brand. Mata Leon Kimonos Commercial. So while we were shooting that commercial, we taught my then girlfriend, now mother of my two kids,
Mm-hmm.
we taught her how to do flying triangle, how to do an arm bar or a roll back standing up. We just trained for 1 month only those movements, and then once we did it in the commercial, it looked so real, and many
Oh wow.
people. It was a hit around the world in all the jiu-jitsu and MMA blogs at the time. It was the time of the blogs 10 years ago, and
Yeah.
like there were many like black belt jiu-jitsu guys from Brazil or Russia adding my wife on Facebook, like thinking like she's a black belt, like they're inviting her over for like like a seminar. Like I'm like, oh my god, this actually works. So 10 years
Damn.
ago, I had this idea in my mind. One day, if I shoot a fight film, if I shoot a martial arts film, if I do jiu-jitsu and wrestling and grappling choreography, there is a sense of convincing reality in it that other martial arts don't. So that was my starting point.
Yep. Having, and it's not something that I practice or I'm involved in, but, like you said earlier, there's even little kind of nuances I feel like as maybe she is fighting back or, these fellas that aren't used to having this continual fight are just kind of sitting there for a second and maybe taking like a deep breath,
Yeah,
because it's like,
yeah,
this is a real life, type of execution and how this would happen. And it's like these motherfuckers aren't sitting here fighting for 20 minutes and just going on with, a big old gut. Like they are gonna have to take it in for a second, try to think, what the fuck am I gonna do next?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And pulled off well. So I love hearing the story as far as involving your wife too, and kind of the angle of how to shoot these things and make it look real.
And
Um,
also like, I think there is like very little other martial arts films that kind of approach fighting in a realistic way. This year it was an amazing year for martial arts movies. There were like beautiful martial arts movies from the East, some crazy stuff. But the fight scenes, you never, you never like damage. They don't care about the damage,
mhm.
like he gets his head like bomb 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 bomb, and then like he continues. So like it's just like a American wrestling, one of them beats the other one, and then the other one decides to fight back. So what happened with all those previous punches or damage he got? Or like we don't see that. They don't get tired. They don't. So
Uh-huh.
like but in my film I wanted my actress, my character to get tired and then cheat a little. She cheats her way, like in every. I think that's what a great fighter does. They cheat their way through, like, and also I love movies where like martial arts or samurai or kind of like fight movies where people cheat, because that's how you really like survive. That's how samurais like kind of like who's gonna cheat better, when it's like a life and death situation.
Right, right. And to the extent that this story goes, and I guess to be a little more vague with it, from the points that she has already kind of overcome and the steps that she's already gone, and she gets, kind of to one of the final ones, and she's just like, yeah, fuck this. I'm not playing fair anymore.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
oh
She never
shit.
was. She never was. Like, I think.
And one of the things I loved, and I always love with your pieces, I always love in your movies, dude, is the score and the ambience that you have behind. But especially in this, we get kind of like a haunting three chord Jaws type play, and I wanted to kind of touch on that, and what was inspiration for having a martial arts movie and how you could have gone about this, but the haunting ambiance that we got of this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think soundtrack wise, this is a horror film. You know, I think
Right, right, right.
that's how I approached the soundtrack, and that's where I borrowed most of my soundtrack inspirations, and that's how I feed my composer. When I was using temp tracks for my rough cut, I was borrowing from High Tension, Alejandra Aja's
Oh.
High Tension, because right before making Sayara, I just went back and watched some of my favorite like violence some of my favorite revenge films. And while I was watching High Tension, I realized, because I'm looking for the violence scenes, but I was like, oh my God, what really affected me in this movie is the score.
The
I love the
music,
score. Yeah,
dude,
and,
dude.
and that was amazing. And then I realized, okay, maybe I have to let my composer listen to this, as well as some other stuff. Like there's even a little bit of All Quiet on the Western Front, the new German remake version of it.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's like my inspirations were like from a myriad of places.
Yeah.
And my composer Volkan, like he understands me perfectly. Like he's a DJ, and when like Daft Punk came to visit Istanbul like some 20 years ago, he was the one who was taking them around. You know, like
Oh wow.
he's a
Wow.
he's a party guy, he's a cinephile like me, so like we have the same frequency. So I love doing the music, and like many times when we're having the screenings here, I tell the audience to give a listen to this film. You know, like.
Uh,
This movie is like, it's not only the script, it's not only what really happens, it's more like a audiovisual sensual experience. Just listen to the music. I'm very.
yeah. 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 And that was, like I say, one of the things that jumped out to me, and it was kind of an opportunity, where something that I love is when I watch an action film, or I watch, something that might be a martial arts, or, but there's these little hints of, I feel like this director has a love for horror, and maybe it's little elements of the score. Maybe it's elements of later in the movie, we get the gore that we're about to touch on, where I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
had I detached myself from this and had not known, you or your work, I would have been looking for who the director or the writer was, just out of those elements of like, there's some like wicked horror shit that's going on within this realm that I'm in love with. And the
Yeah,
score was one of those things for sure.
I think ever since I was a student, uh, or even before that, like I remember watching David Lynch movies specifically,
Hmm.
and he's just using some very standard drone type of repetitious
Hmm.
music, and then immediately the scene becomes something else.
Hmm.
So as a short filmmaker, as a student myself, I was just using David Lynch type of repetitious suffocating drone scores for normal scenes, and then the scene immediately becomes something else. And that is one of my biggest motivations to become a filmmaker, I think.
Man, oh man, dude, yeah, I love it, and like was saying a second ago, the gore is the whole other premise. I mean, the gouging to the bites in particular. That was kind of the part where I was like, I'm gonna have to make sure to emphasize on this, because I there was just like a gnawing aspect at one point, and I'm just like, God damn it, dude, this is really getting under my skin, and definitely getting under theirs.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know what? I see some of the behind the scenes, aspects, and some of the things as far as the prosthetic leg getting stabbed, and but what were some of the points as far as when you're writing this, and it's like, all right, we're gonna have to really pull this off and have this, be some badass effects here.
No, I mean, as I said, the lack of spinning high kicks and whatnot had to be filled with plastic makeups from the very start. That
Uh,
was my, okay, I'm going to make a revenge movie with martial arts, which is going to rely on very simple but very, mind melting gore effects.
mm-hmm.
And it's going to be my stamp on the subgenre, because I don't think there are many movies who kind of approach it like this. In a way, I think Sayara is very unique for this, and
Totally.
and also I think one of the first drafts I wrote was titled Kinomutai, and there's this thing called Kinomutai. If you look it up on YouTube, it's about these crazy people who teach you the art of biting and eye gouging. And
What?
it is a real thing. I don't know if it works, but there are people like that. And it's I think an Indonesian martial art. It's about like specifically for biting and eye gouging. It teaches you like different types of bite, and that's why the father teaches the young Sayara about how to bite,
Oh,
not like with a big chunk,
fuck.
but like bite sideways. You know, and
Oh
yeah, it
man,
was
no
crazy.
shit.
So like I'm like, okay,
Wow.
I'm gonna make a movie episode. Maybe at some point I was gonna call it Kino Mutai, like that, and the guy was gonna, and then like it developed into something else. But that's how I started the journey.
Oh, dude, that is insane. You know, and there's certain things though, you know, like you mentioned, as far as you know, having constraints and having things where you know you have to kind of keep in mind with budgetary and whatnot. But there are fire stunts that are going involved in this. They are, you know, full head casts.
Yeah,
There are
yeah.
just absolute brutal beatings. There's a moment. There was one moment, you know, where I'm kind of like knee jerk reactioning that someone gets stuck in the neck, and it was just so random and so kind of in the moment that I'm like, fuck, man, damn. And you know, so I mean, as far as the, you know, the gore, I had to emphasize on that as well, because I mean it was absolutely solid, well done, of course. I mean, there's nothing else that I expect from, you know, you and your team's work. You know, and what was the last day? You know, when we're shooting Sayara, what did you wrap on?
Last day was uh, um, last day was when the sister um, when the sister is going to the guy's house right before she gets
Uh,
killed.
uh-huh,
We shot that on a single night, but her journey in the car with the red light,
uh-huh.
it's just like I think that was the taxi scene of the sister. Do you remember what we shot before that? The last day before the sister scene. The scene between Sayara and his father. Really? Yes. Yeah, maybe the Turkmenistan and the morgue scene. The morgue. Sorry, the morgue scene. That was
Oh,
the last one.
okay.
The morgue,
Mm,
the morgue shot. It wasn't like, you know, it was just a single shot. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
and like the guy who pulls the drawer of the morgue is our grip. He's the grip.
Oh, really? The grip being a grip, brother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Shit, just pulling. Did you end up keeping anything from the shoot?
yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
mean, I still have many of the clothes because actually they are actually my clothes or my wife's clothes.
Oh,
And
okay. Damn.
what else? Um, we have the head sculpts, but they are with my production, isn't it? Like the makeup guy. What
Man.
else? I'm sure I have some stuff.
Okay. Okay. Okay, dude, it's sick, and I always I like to ask that sometimes, and a lot of times people are like, no, you know, I just kind of leave it at, you know, as is. But we have, I think, this kind of common, you know, like mentality with some of that stuff where it's like, dude, this is too cool that I can't not, you know, take something away to have on my shelf at home, and you know, the
I always keep
opportunity.
some souvenirs from my films, man. And then like I
Yeah,
always also give some of them to my actors for sure.
yeah. Yeah, dude, that's so awesome. I love it. And you know, I guess to wrap up our conversation here today, uh, you know, recently announced is the Turkish Coffee Table. I obviously, you know, we have to keep things under wrap. I'm not trying to press for, you know, shit that's not out there yet. But you know, what can you tell us about this, dude? This is absolutely insane. This is a tale that I did not intend on coming back to, but I see your name attached to it. I'm like, God damn it, here we go
Yeah, it
again.
was just like
And
it was an amazing coincidence. This the owner of Morbido Film Festival, Pablo Guiza,
okay, yep.
told me that he has the rights, remake rights to this crazy single location Spanish film, which got some heat in the festival circuit. And I'm like, a single location film from Pablo Guiza? That sounds cool. Like I'm in it. Like I'm down no matter what as a commercial project, you know, because I'm super happy and content with what I did with Sayara. Now I'm ready to do anything for money because I need to like also, you know. So like initially I accepted it like just like a normal commercial project, but when I watched it, Pablo sent me the link. I'm like, fuck, this is gonna be a passion film. I'm
Yeah.
gonna do it for doing it. I'm just gonna do it. And also they say like David Cronenberg says when he received the script for The Fly, he said like there were already very Cronenbergian elements in it.
Yeah.
And when I watched Coffee Table, I was like blown away because there's always there's all these little things that really fit in with like my subconscious or like id or whatever. And then I loved the script, and I thought I could find some amazing Turkish actors to maybe up the ante.
Mm-hmm.
And then some scenes I thought I could do a little different. And also, I was a big fan of the director's previous film called Matara Dios, Killing God. It's again a very dark comedy.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Okay. Okay.
I was a big fan of that too. So, and I had a little chat with the director, Kaye
Mm-hmm.
Casillas,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like the sweetest, coolest guy. And I told him, man, like you had this amazing film, amazing script. I would be honored to have my own version on it. And he told me to do whatever I want with it, like own it. And I think the moment you translate the story to the Turkish society, to a couple in Istanbul, because of the Turkish politics and Turkish society, immediately I think the whole thing becomes deeper with more, with even more socio-cultural, echoes, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
like, and I hope like, and I'm kind of sure. I also hope the fans of the original movie will love this one as well, and people who's never seen the original are going to be blown away.
I mean, to be honest, I can't come off, up front and say that I loved the original one because it was absolutely great. It was, like as far as just the content of it, it was just one of those movies that I was having a hard time and like biting my fucking finger the whole time. It's just so anxiety ridden, and after the thing that happens, and this guy is fucking trying to just like squirm around and figure out what to. Oh, dude! And for anybody that's a parent, it's like
Yeah, tell me about it, man. Tell me about it.
Jesus. And I think that's, kind of something that came to mind too. I mean, as far as yourself and being a parent and then taking
Yeah,
on something
yeah,
of material like this, it's like,
yeah. When I watched it, I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" But like, am I gonna immerse myself into this like for a couple
uh
months, like writing it,
huh. Yeah.
shooting it, editing it, But yeah, at the end, I'm so happy with how it came out, and we're gonna have a private screening during the Cannes Film Festival in the Fantastic Pavilion section.
Whoa.
Uh,
No shit.
Fantastic
Okay.
Pavilion is a part of the market.
Uh huh.
We'll have a private screening there, but lots of people are already lining up for it, and also I think it's going to be a huge thing in Turkey,
It's
huger than my previous films at least.
now it's like incomplete, like post production and everything completed right now.
Editing is completed. I'm at the stage of sound designing and coloring.
Man, dude, what the fuck? It's just it's so crazy to me though too because like the original, having just been something that was released, and then they had, kind of mentioned the release of this new, with the poster, your name on it, and I see it in an article, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
Exactly.
wow, so it was a very kind of quick process, but I think the thing is that something that makes me excited for something like this is the fact of like you had mentioned as far as the kind of ethos behind this initial being like a Spanish release and some of the things behind the family's approach and how things are kind of rekindled versus having something at Turkey and having this family in a whole different manner trying to take these things on. And like I say,
And also, I think it's super rare from the point of view that this is not a Hollywood remake. This is not a remake
yeah.
which is done for the mainstream of a certain country from like the original is a very indie art house
Uh-huh.
film, and the remake is also a very indie, full creative license in the auteur director type of film with Turkish mainstream actors. Like this type of product, you never hear about. Like you never hear
Sure.
about. Like it's really crazy. So in that sense, I'm also really happy that this film has a very unique kind of package to it,
Yeah.
like similar to my previous films.
Well, I think the thing that came to mind for me was when Let the Right One In came out. The
I never
French
even
like
bothered to
vampire.
watch the American version. If
That's
it
what I'm saying.
was if it
He,
was a version if it was a version from a genre director I liked, and I know that he had full creative license on it, I would be super excited to watch it.
hmm
Recently I hear about like this director of Eden Lake, which I love.
Oh yeah,
Director of Eden Lake is gonna do a remake of something in a digital platform, but I don't care because like I know that he's not going to have the creative license. I know that he's not going to go as dark as he did in Eden Lake. For instance, Fede Alvarez,
hmm
like I kind of root for the guy, but
hmm
like at the end of the day, he's all these like Netflix movies, also same with the guy who did House on Haunted Hill, Mike Flanagan.
yeah,
As, as
yeah,
much
yeah,
as I kind of love him, he's more like a great businessman
yeah.
than a John Carpenter type of persona, So that
Right,
I don't
right.
like, and I'm so super lucky that I'm able to do my films more closer to John Carpenter's state of mind as much as I
Well,
can.
my point with the right one in though was I wasn't big on the American remake or the fact of even initially hearing that it was an American remake. And when I saw that this was something that was kind of along those lines, a recent movie that's still, on its popularity and your name being attached to a fucking remake, I was talking to a couple of different buddies through here and through work, and I was like, dude, I don't know if you know John Evrenol's shit, but this guy is maybe going to fucking make this thing even worse than my initial trip with this. So it's it's I'm telling you, you pull into some of his shorts and see where this motherfucker goes because it's not comfortable.
That's where we're going with this one too.
Oh god damn it. Oh dude. All right, really quick, but before we wrap up here, I had a little funny thing over the years of our conversations and us going back and forth. um, I've grown to understand that you're a man who loves emojis. Sometimes I solely only get an answer of an emoji. So I'm going to show you three emojis here, just random fucking things. And you tell us what this movie would be about, or maybe even what the movie would be called. So, first of all, we have just some random fellas here. This guy covering his face, some footprints maybe in the dirt, and a scorpion. What movie? What would that movie be?
It would be a contagious disease spreading with scorpions, and the virus kind of eats your face. That would be
uh,
the movie, I think. But do you also want a name for it?
I mean, no, not really. That's like a
It's like
perfect. Maybe just
like
leave
those
that
like
there. That
fungi.
sounds sick.
It's like those fungi like goes through people's feet, and
Hiding in shoes.
yeah, something like that.
Eh, Let's leave that there. Maybe you can make something out of it. That sounds fucking absolutely
I
wicked.
should.
All right. What? All right. Let's see. And the next one here, we got Planet Earth, a spoon, and a compass.
Oh
Now
my
these
god.
were all completely random here, but this might be something that takes us on a girl with no mouth type journey. What would we have there?
Yeah, we would have something like a post-apocalyptic situation where the Earth's orbit, Earth's what you call that line that's going through,
Axis.
uh, the axis of the Earth is like going bad, and like all the campuses. So there's a scene in the movie, a little kid, just like the Jurassic Park scene with the glass. There's a scene with a kid like with a compass and like a spoon, figuring out, oh my God, there's something wrong with the axis of the Earth. That's how it begins, and that scene becomes very iconic. So people recognize that movie from this emoji.
I was not expecting this. God damn it! Maybe I should have done this something like this on Zoom so that I could have cut this out for you. All right, last one. This is last one. We'll be wrapping up here. We got a diamond, a saw, and maybe like a thunderstorm going
Oh
on here.
my God.
These are all completely random, brother. I
Take
hate to do it.
shelter. This is take shelter, but I don't know where the diamond fits in.
Okay. Uncut Gems meets Take Shelter. You know,
Yeah,
there we
awesome,
go, dude.
awesome.
John, this has been absolutely so sick, man. Thank you so much for the time once again. Uh, dude, gracing the horror community with fucking great content, literally year after year.
Thank you so much, man. Hope to see you very
And
soon.
dude, I know, absolutely, absolutely. I'm trying to figure some things out, and possibly this next year. I've been in contact with a couple of people actually over in Istanbul and talking to them about some like film fests and shit.
Or maybe in a
Um,
festival, like maybe like yeah, with your content that you've been doing over the years,
mhm.
a visit to Cannes or Berlinale
Yeah,
during the festival
yeah,
or one of the genre festivals could be very cool.
yeah. Fuck yes, dude. Absolutely. Like I say, I appreciate just the time of hanging out, and we'll meet up, brother. We'll
Yeah,
meet
until
up one
next
of these
time.
times. Yep. Everybody, take care. Have a good day.
Take care.
Bye. Yeah, like.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi a horror guy. Yeah. Lo-fi horror guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.